We are killers. We're not murderers. There's a difference between a killer and a murderer. Growing up in a religious family, I was told a killer takes a life to protect the life of a loved one. A murderer takes a life for selfish intent, greed, money, women. So when I say we're killers, we're not murderers. Both killers and murderers take life, but they do it for different reasons. Welcome to episode 7 of Ramadi Days. So we talked about the battles in April, and we've been going month to month describing the 2004 deployment for Battalion 2-4, Echo Company, 1st Platoon. And before I get on with some of the stories that happened in May, I felt that it was important to draw a distinction between killers and murderers. You have to understand how Marines are trained from boot camp till the time they get out. The difference between the Marine Corps and every other branch is that every Marine is a rifleman, meaning that you can take the Marine whose military occupational specialty, or MOS as we call it, you can take that cook out of the kitchen, put a rifle in his hand, and have him patrolling the streets. And we had that during our deployment. Shout out to Lance Corporal Jenkins, still my friend, who had the balls as a cook to patrol the streets of Ramadi after all the death, after all the killings that happened on those streets. Marines are a different breed. From day one in boot camp, our leaders do their best to brainwash us and instill in us a bloodlust so that we can kill and enjoy killing with the best of them. We're taught brotherhood, and we're taught to fight fierce to protect the life of the brother to the left or to the right of us. And I was in the Marine Corps 20 years ago, so throw in sisterhood whenever you hear me say brotherhood. I think back to a couple of years, I think it was 2023 or 2022. There was an incident on a train, a subway in New York, when a combat Marine ended up unaliving a man with psychiatric problems on the train. And I remember getting in arguments with people on social media, and I was trying to explain the mindset of an infantry Marine and how we are trained from day one to kill. And people weren't understanding me. They thought I was making excuses for the tragedy that happened on the train. There are some times where you make excuses, and then there's other times where it's not an excuse, it's an explanation on why something happened. And on this train, apparently the man with psychiatric problems ran into a Marine with psychiatric problems. And the man with psychiatric problems, I guess, was being violent on the train and said that he wanted to die. And when two people with psychiatric problems run into each other, and the other one is a Marine that was trained to kill and enjoy killing from day one, chances are the Marine is going to come out alive and the other person isn't. And my heart goes out to both families both families involved in that tragedy. But the explanation of why it happened is because as a United States Marine, again, you're trained from day one to want to kill and to want to kill with extreme lethality. So when we think about the Iran conflict going on right now, I don't want war with Iran. I don't think it's smart. I don't want to be drawn into another conflict in the Middle East that we don't need to be in. But you got to understand that right now, there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of active duty Marines who, from day one, have been wanting to kill. They reward you for killing in the Marine Corps. So even though we, as veterans and civilians, do not want this war, you can definitely bet that Marines in the Marine Corps want this war. Not all of them, but there's that 17, 18, 19-year-old brainwashed infantry Marine who for a long time has been learning to kill every day. And finally, they get the chance to go and kill. So I explain all that before I start the story to help you understand the mentality of Echo 2-4 when we was in Ramadi, Iraq. Again, we're killers, not murderers. So leaving April and getting on to May, we kept on running operations. Operations name, I forget the name of them, but I think County Fair. There was a bunch of different names for the operations that would run. And the whole point was to rout out any of the remaining insurgents in our area of operation. And some of these funnies, some of these stories are funnier than the other. I think about a time when our 7-ton was rolling again down Gibson from Nova down Gibson en route to main supply route, Michigan. And the 7-ton that my platoon was on was trapped in what we call the kill zone. We had two apartment buildings on opposite sides of the street shooting down to our 7-ton and to the Marines in it. When that happened, I remember Lance Corporal DeMarcus Reed pushing down Soto. And they were all in my fire team. I was the fire team leader. He pushed down Soto and said, Soto, get down. They shooting. Soto, stay down. And so Lance Corporal Reed was holding Soto down. With his other hand, he was shooting his lightweight machine gun back at the buildings that was shooting at us. And as he's holding Soto down, Soto saying, "Oh man, get the fuck off of me, man. You stink, you smell like shit." And Reed saying, "Soto, stay down. I'm gonna save you." And Reed is standing up, shooting at the apartment buildings where we getting shot at. And Reed always tells me this. He says while he was shooting, he looked over at me and he said, I was just sitting down, cool, calm, and collective, and loading my grenade launcher. I would look at an area we was getting shot at, and I would shoot my grenade launcher into that area. Then I would sit back down a little bit under some cover, load my grenade launcher again, and shoot back. And Reed said the funniest thing about all of it is I was so calm while I was doing it. But again, at this time, we had lost so many people to IEDs, to gunfights. You start feeling like every second is precious. And so was living 100%. So I no longer had the type of angst that I had when I first got there, when I was getting blown up, when I was in gunfights and all that other stuff. Now, we're able to return fire on the buildings that are shooting at us, make it out the kill zone, and get back to base. And our captain, we called him Captain Casualty. More on that later. He was so upset that we didn't bring any dead bodies back. He sent us back into the kill zone, into the area that we was getting shot at to go collect people and to go kill people. So again, remember, we're killers, not murderers. And I tell you that story to demonstrate to you how Reed decided to return fire because the life of his brother Soto was being jeopardized. I decided to return fire as well because my fire team was in danger. I wasn't going out there looking for people to murder. I didn't want gunfights. But yeah, the people that killed my friends, the people that killed my brothers, I wanted them dead and gone. So this is how May went. There were gunfights here and there. And to tell you the funny thing, I've been in so many gunfights that I forgot a few of them. And I only remember those gunfights when I'm at reunions or whenever I link up with the guys that I serve with, and they'll say something like, Tor, you remember this fight or this conflict or that conflict? And I'll tell them, nah, I honestly don't remember, but I mean, if you said so, whatever. Now, one I do remember, and this is the main reason that I fall asleep during action movies. You know, the Michael Bay action movies where you got sexy music playing and 4 second jump cuts and military people jumping out of planes on fast rope and doing all this high speed, low drag stuff. I fall asleep during that. That stuff doesn't keep me awake. And it's because me and my team, me and my crew, we actually lived that. One of the things I remember in May is when we started an operation and we were going toward the area of operation for a golf company. And, gunshots started. We're doing a combined operation with the Army. And my squad was given the word to go into a building to get the higher ground so that we could have an elevated position of fire. This building, by modest accounts, was 6 stories, 6 different levels, and a squad size elements of Marines. 13 guys went into this building and we cleared every level from the ground up, which is normally against standard operating procedure because being part of a helo company, you want to clear from the top of the building all the way down. If you go from the bottom up, the enemy feels he has nowhere to go, and a cornered enemy is going to fight even fiercer. But today we had no choice. I believe Golf Company was engaged in a gunfight around the soccer stadium, and my squad was ordered to go and get an elevated position on top of the building. So, Marine Corps squad is about 13 guys. You have an attachment of a corpsman, and then sometimes you'll have an attachment from weapons platoon. It'll be like a 240 medium machine gun, or you'll have some other weapons attachment. But this day, I believe we only had 13 people. We had a corpsman, we had Staff Sergeant Connor, the biggest bootlicker I knew back then. This guy was a freaking bootlicker. Um, he even on the way back, he even pulled his gun on me in Kuwait, and I, I'll I'll allude to why Sergeant Connor was such a bootlicker and nobody wanted him there. But he was our squad leader at the time, and we had to clear the building to get to the top. So when we're clearing rooms, there's what we call close quarter battles, a certain way to do it. And from floor 1 all the way to floor 6, we're kicking down doors, we're making entry, we're making sure there's no enemy in the building. And luckily, there was no enemy in the building that we went into. So clearing was easier because we didn't have to kill anybody. But then we get to the top of the building, Before we get to the top of the building, I just need to tell you something funny. I used to kick doors down. Reed used to run through doors. Reed is like 6'2". He was a big guy, and I remember him running through one door, and the door just collapsed, and he fell down in front of a lady that was just sitting on her bed, and she looked at him like, "What the hell?" So, anyways, we make it to the top of the building, and we're supposed to support golf company or at least get an elevated position of fire. And we noticed that they're engaging an insurgent in a gunfight. So from our elevated position, we start shooting at the insurgent too. And when I say shooting at the insurgent, we're hitting this guy with our bullets. Some of us have what they call ACOG, which is a scope attached onto your rifle. And wherever the dot on the scope goes, that's where your bullet's going. So we're shooting this guy, and he drops his weapon, and he's running for safety. And bullets are hitting from the bottom position, and bullets are also hitting him from the elevated position. When I say we're shooting this guy, I mean my whole squad. We are lighting him up like it's a carnival game. And the strangest thing, this man was not dying. He would get hit, he would fall, he would crawl to a car to get cover, wait a couple of seconds, get up, run as fast as he could, get hit again, fall down, crawl to another position that covered him, and he kept on doing this. So we're shooting at him from the street, we're shooting at him from the top of the building, and then Reed, who also was shooting at him and hitting him with bullets, decides that it's time to stop shooting at this guy. And Reed starts cheering for this man. He starts saying, "Oh shit, God wants you to live." And Reed points his machine gun up in the air and starts yelling, "Live, motherfucker, live, live, motherfucker." I stopped shooting at the guy. I just start laughing. I'm like, "Reed, what the hell is wrong with you?" So shout out to the army though, because we couldn't get through the front door before we got up that building, and that's when the Army Bradleys came through and shot the front door up so that we can make it into the building. These are the type of things that killers go through. Going back to the fact that we're killers, not murderers, we did not kill one person in that building because we didn't feel they deserved to die. They weren't threatening our lives. They weren't threatening the lives of our brother to the left of us. I always believe diplomacy is the best deterrent to conflict. Because once you take a life, that life can't come back. If you believe in reincarnation, yeah, sure. But that particular life in that body cannot come back. And when I think of this Iran war, I think about the struggling that young men and young women, young service members are going to have to go through by taking life. Sometimes, and some of the veteran suicides from my era are because people took life and they felt that they didn't have to take a life and they struggle with that. I don't want any American service member to go through that. On top of that, if the tables would turn, if I was an Iraqi who just happened to be born in Ramadi, going through whatever I went through, I have to think if I saw my father get killed by Marines, if my uncle, if my mom, if my family member got blown up by Marines, knowing who I am, I definitely pick up a rifle. I definitely find a way to repay that debt. People don't forget. And again, beef is not over for carrying ashes in an urn. Recently, there was a report that when I say we, I mean America, bombed a school and killed 160 little girls. Now, think about that. Do you really think the mother, the brother, the sister, the father, the uncle, the auntie of those little girls are going to forgive whoever took the life away of their precious little ones? No, it's not going to happen. So for years, we as Americans have to be on the lookout for one of those family members trying to get revenge when all this could have been handled diplomatically. So many years have gone on where we have not had a war with Iran, and more years could have kept on going. But we're at war now. And I feel that these stories, these Ramadi Day stories, are poignant because right now people aren't thinking about the after actions, the long term effects of going to war. That man that we shot from the top of the building, those people that were firing on us from the buildings that we killed, their family members might not have been radicalized, but I guarantee after losing their family member, some of them would be. So this has been another episode of Ramadi Days, Theophilus Tour, talking about the month of May. Next episodes are going to talk about vehicle-borne IEDs that killed a bunch of my friends and wounded some other of my friends. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Ramadi Days.